On a faraway planet called Drelos, life was ruled by strict customs and hard traditions. The people of Drelos, tall and proud, valued strength and discipline above everything else. Among them lived an alien woman named Vera. She was known across her world for her bold spirit and sharp mind. Vera never bowed to any man, not even the strongest warriors or the oldest elders. Since she was young, she had challenged rules and pushed limits. Many admired her. Some feared her. All respected her stubborn will. Dre loss had gone through many changes in recent years. Humans had arrived, coming from a blue planet called Earth. They came as ambassadors, workers, and engineers, hoping to build new friendships and share new ideas. Most of the Drelos people did not trust these newcomers. They saw humans as weak, soft, and sometimes foolish. They laughed at their strange customs and gentle ways. But humans kept working hard, hoping to prove themselves. One bright morning, Vera stood before the High Council of Drelos. The council chamber was made of dark stone, its walls covered in carvings of old battles and important victories. Council members, dressed in long robes, sat in a circle. Their faces were serious. Vera stood in the center, arms crossed, showing no fear. The oldest council member, a wise woman named Talira, spoke. Her voice echoed in the hall. She told Vera about a new human engineer named Matthew who had arrived in their city. Matthew was here to help repair the city's failing power grid. The council wanted Vera to oversee him, to make sure he followed all rules and did not cause trouble. Vera did not like the idea. She did not want to babysit a human. She believed she had better things to do. But Talira made it clear this was not a choice. The power grid was failing fast. If it broke down, the city would fall into darkness and many would suffer. The job was important. The honor of their people was at stake. With a sharp nod, Vera agreed. She would take charge of Matthew. But in her heart, she planned to show him his place. She would not let a human make her look weak. She would make sure. Matthew obeyed her every order. Vir walked out of the council hall and down the city's busy streets. Drelos was alive with color and movement. Tall buildings shone in the sunlight. Markets were full of traders selling bright fruits, tools, and fabrics. Machines hummed and voices echoed everywhere. Vera moved through the crowd with confidence. People stepped aside for her, whispering her name. She was a legend to many, and she carried herself like a true warrior. Soon, Vera reached the city's power center. The building was huge, filled with humming machines and glowing panels. Teams of workers moved in and out, carrying tools and checking screens. In the center of the room, standing out in simple clothes, was Matthew. Matthew was not what Vera expected. He was a young human man, a bit shorter than most Drelos people, with sandy brown hair and a calm face. His eyes were steady, full of quiet focus. He did not look afraid. He was busy looking at a screen, studying a diagram of the power grid. Vir walked up to him and spoke in a clear voice. She told him who she was and why she was there. She made it clear she was in charge and he would follow her rules. Matthew listened, nodded, and simply said, "Okay." His voice was soft but confident. Vir started her work by testing him right away. She gave him a list of strict tasks. Some were normal, but others were almost impossible, just to see how he would react. She told him to fix a power conduit that had broken down for years. She warned him the machine was dangerous and that most people had failed before. She watched closely, waiting for him to panic or give up, but Matthew did not complain or hesitate. He asked a few questions, studied the plans, and then walked over to the conduit. He examined it carefully, moving slow and steady. After a few minutes, he found a simple broken part others had missed. He used a basic tool to fix it and then flipped a switch. Lights blinked on. The conduit worked for the first time in years. Vir was surprised, though she tried not to show it. The other workers started whispering to each other, impressed by Matthew's calm skill. Vera quickly gave him another hard job, this time a tangled mess of wires behind a main control panel. Again, Matthew worked with care, found the problem, and solved it. As the hours passed, Vera kept trying to find a weakness in Matthew. She asked him about Earth, hoping to catch him off guard. She told him stories about Drellos and tried to confuse him with complicated rules. Matthew listened politely, answered her questions, and never seemed angry or worried. When she asked him to work late, he did not complain. One time, Vera tried to challenge him in front of the team. She ordered him to explain why the power grid kept failing, something even her top experts could not agree on. Matthew took out his notebook, showed simple sketches, and explained the problem in a way everyone could understand. He spoke quietly, but people listened. His ideas made sense. Soon, even the oldest workers were nodding for that. Vera started to feel something strange. She was not sure if it was respect or annoyance. She had met many strong people, but no one who worked like Matthew. He did not try to impress anyone. He did not argue or brag. He just did his job and did it well. That evening, Vera and Matthew walked through the city together, checking different power stations. The sun was setting and the sky was painted in gold and purple colors. Vera asked Matthew why he came to Drellos. He told her he wanted to help, to learn new things, and to see the universe. He said Earth was a nice place, but he was curious about other worlds. Vera asked if he missed his home, and Matthew smiled. He said, "Sometimes, but I think every place can feel like home if you try." For the first time, Vera did not know how to answer. She found herself thinking about his words. She remembered her own dreams back when she was young. Before the rules and the council and all the battles, the next day, the council sent word that the power grid was getting worse. New problems were showing up and the whole city could be at risk soon. Vera and Matthew were told to work together, no matter what it took. Time was running out. Vera grew more determined than ever. She told Matthew he would follow her every command. She would not let him take control or make her look weak. But as they moved from station to station, checking wires, fixing circuits, and solving puzzles, Vera realized she was starting to rely on him more than she wanted to admit. Other workers started to notice too. Some whispered that maybe humans were not as weak as they had thought. A few even began to ask Matthew for advice. Vera did not like this feeling. She wanted to prove herself, but the harder she tried, the more Matthew seemed to handle everything with quiet strength. By the end of the week, Vera knew things were changing. Matthew was not just another worker. He was someone who solved problems no one else could. He was patient, steady, and brave in his own way. As they stood on a high balcony overlooking the city at night, the lights glowing softly below, Vera asked Matthew if he was ever afraid. Matthew thought for a moment, then said, "Everyone is afraid sometimes. It's what you do next that matters." Vera said nothing for a long time. She looked out at the city and wondered if she had finally met someone she could not outsmart or defeat. In that quiet moment, Vera understood that this new partnership was just beginning and that her life would never be the same again. The next morning, Vera woke up before the sun rose. She stood by her window, looking out at the city below. Her mind was full of thoughts about Matthew and the strange way he kept handling every challenge she set for him. She was used to people giving up or becoming angry when she made things hard for them, but Matthew was never upset. He always found a way to solve problems or work with others, even when things were hard. She did not want to respect him, but she could not help it. Vera went to the power center early, hoping to catch Matthew off guard. But when she arrived, she saw him already working. He was fixing a broken machine with two of her team members, showing them a better way to join wires together. He explained things in simple words. The others listened and learned. Vera watched quietly from the doorway, trying to find a mistake or something to criticize. But Matthew did the job well. When Matthew noticed her, he greeted her politely. "Good morning, Vera," he said. His voice was friendly, not afraid at all. She nodded, but did not smile. She told him there was a new problem in the main grid, and that she wanted him to solve it by himself this time. It was a hard job, one that had beaten even the best engineers from her city. Matthew agreed without hesitation. Vera took him to the main grid room, a huge space full of loud machines, blinking lights, and tangled cables. She pointed to the largest panel, where power kept cutting out every few hours. She said, "If you can fix this, maybe I'll believe you're as good as everyone says." Matthew looked at the panel for a long time, then started asking questions. He wanted to know when the problem first started, what repairs had been tried, and what the warning lights meant. Vera answered, though she felt annoyed at all his questions. While Matthew worked, Vera tried to distract him. She told stories about past failures. She warned him the panel had shocked people before. She even joked that maybe only a true Drello's warrior could solve it. But Matthew was calm and focused. He opened the panel and slowly traced every wire. He used simple tools, sometimes things he had made himself, to check for bad connections. After 2 hours, he found a tiny loose wire deep inside the panel. No one else had looked there before. Matthew fixed the wire, tightened the connections, and closed the panel. When he turned the power back on, everything worked. The warning. Lights went away. The main grid was stable again. Vera's team cheered, and even she had to admit he had done something impressive. Still, she did not want him to get too proud. She said, "You were lucky this time?" Matthew just smiled and said, "Maybe, but luck is sometimes about looking in the right place." Vera walked away, feeling frustrated but also curious. She wondered how he stayed so calm. As the days passed, Vera's tests became harder. She set up small traps for Matthew. She changed instructions at the last minute, hoping to make him confused. She even told her team to work slower to see if he would get angry. Matthew never lost his temper. If something went wrong, he found a way to fix it. If the team made mistakes, he helped them learn instead of blaming them. One time, a machine nearly caught fire because a part was left out. Matthew saw the problem, shouted for everyone to move back, and stopped the fire with a simple tool. After the danger passed, he quietly fixed the mistake without yelling at anyone. Vir began to notice her own team was changing too. They started listening to Matthew's ideas. Some workers even came to him with their own problems, asking for advice. Others watched the way he solved things, trying to copy his methods. Vera saw respect growing for him, and she worried her own place as leader might be at risk. One evening after a long day, Matthew and Vera sat outside the power center, sharing a meal. The sun was low, painting the sky with pink and orange. Matthew asked Vera about her life. He wanted to know why she worked so hard and why she always tried to be strong. Vera was surprised by his question. She thought for a while before answering. She told him about her family, how her mother was a famous fighter, and how her father had taught her to never give up. She said people expected her to be perfect, to never show weakness. Matthew listened quietly, never judging or interrupting. Vera asked about Matthew's family. He smiled. He said his parents lived on Earth and worked as teachers. He missed them sometimes but liked exploring new places. He said, "I think every place has something to teach us if we look for it." Vera found herself liking the way he saw the world. She wondered if she had been too harsh on him. Soon after, a new problem appeared. The city's power started failing in the lower districts. Whole neighborhoods lost lights and machines stopped working. People became worried and angry. The council called Vera and Matthew in for an emergency meeting. The council members blamed human technology and warned that people might start to panic if things did not improve soon. Vera tried to defend her team, but the council asked hard questions. They said maybe it was a mistake to trust a human with such important work. Matthew spoke calmly, explaining what he thought the problem was. He said the city's old power lines could not handle all the new machines. He offered a plan to fix it, but the council was not convinced. They ordered Vera to keep a close watch on Matthew and report any mistakes. Vera promised she would. After the meeting, Vera was angry. She walked with Matthew through the dark streets, trying to think of a plan. Matthew said he would not give up. He asked Vera to trust him and let him try his idea. Vera hesitated, but something inside her told her to give him a chance. Together, they went to the lower districts, where families waited in the dark. Matthew used a small scanner to find broken power lines. He taught Vera's team how to fix them using simple tools. They worked late into the night, moving from street to street. Some people watched in silence, others cheered when the lights came back on. Vera was surprised how quickly Matthew found solutions and how he made her team work better together. The last street. Vera saw a group of children watching as Matthew repaired the final line. One little girl asked Vera, "Is the human really a hero?" Vera was not sure what to say. She watched Matthew stand up, dust on his face, but a happy smile as the lights came on. Vera felt something change in her heart. The next morning, word spread that the power was back. The council sent a message to Vera saying they wanted to speak with her again. Before she left, Matthew thanked her for trusting him. He said, "We make a good team." Vera almost smiled, but she stopped herself. At the council hall. Tulira asked Vera if she thought the human could be trusted. Vera paused before answering. She said Matthew had done more than anyone expected. She said he worked hard, solved problems, and helped her team. The council was still unsure. They warned her again to watch him closely. That day, Vera tried one last test. She set up a problem with no easy answer. A power relay deep under the city had failed, and only one person could fit into the tunnel to fix it. She asked Matthew if he would do it. He agreed, but asked her to guide him from above. As he worked, she gave him confusing directions, hoping he would get upset or lost. Instead, Matthew stayed calm, asked careful questions, and finished the job. When he climbed out, tired and dirty, he simply said, "Thank you for helping me." Vera realized she could not make Matthew angry or afraid. She started to wonder if she was really testing him or if she was testing herself. Maybe the true challenge was learning to work together, even when things were difficult. As the sun set, Vera and Matthew walked through the city again. People waved and called out thanks. Vera felt something she had not felt in a long time: pride. Not just in herself, but in her team and in the strange human who kept surprising her. Deep down, Vera knew that things were changing. She had tried to break Matthew, but instead he had shown her a new kind of strength. She was no longer sure who was leading and who was following. All she knew was that, for the first time, she wanted to see what they could do if they worked together. The city of Drelos grew restless as days passed. Rumors spread that the power problems were only the beginning, and soon more troubles would follow. The people worried about darkness, but they worried even more about the growing tension between humans and the alien council. Many Drelos did not trust the humans. Some said the city was better off before the new technology. Others whispered that the humans were planning to take over. In the middle of all this, Vera found herself thinking about Matthew more and more. Vir and Matthew kept working side by side. Every morning, they met at the power center, checking new reports and fixing broken machines. Their work became faster and smoother. Even when the problems grew bigger, Vera was still strict and Matthew was still calm. They argued sometimes, but now their arguments were about ideas, not anger. Sometimes they even laughed together, and their team noticed the change. One evening, Vera was called to a secret meeting with her superiors. The council sat in silence, their faces hard and serious. Tulira spoke first, saying she had seen Vera grow too close to the human. She warned that trust could be dangerous. Another council member said that old mistrust between their people was returning. They told Vera to find a reason to send Matthew home. If she could not, her own honor might be questioned. Vi left the meeting angry and confused. She walked the empty streets, thinking about all the times Matthew had helped her and her team. She remembered how he stayed calm, how he explained things, and how he always found a solution, even when she tried to make him fail. For the first time, Vera did not know what to do. She wanted to protect her people, but she also wanted to be fair to Matthew. As Vera struggled with her thoughts, the city suddenly fell into darkness. Every light went out, machines stopped, alarms echoed through the air. People shouted and ran through the streets. Vera ran to the power center, her heart pounding. She found Matthew there, standing with her team. Even in the dark, his voice was calm as he called out orders. Vir asked what happened. Matthew said the main power core had shut down. It was an old system, and the extra machines had pushed it too far. He explained that only someone who understood both Drelos and human technology could fix it now. Vera realized he meant himself. She did not like feeling powerless, but there was no other choice. Matthew told everyone what to do. He asked Vera to lead part of the team and keep the workers calm. She was surprised he trusted her with so much. Together they made a plan. Matthew would go deep into the power plant to restart the core, while Vera stayed above to manage the teams and send help if needed. Inside the power plant, Matthew faced heat and smoke. He crawled through tight spaces, checked broken wires, and used both human and Drello's tools to reach the heart of the system. Above ground, Vera listened to his voice through the radio. Every time there was a problem, Matthew asked for her advice. He treated her like a true partner. Vera felt something new. She wanted him to succeed, not just to save the city, but because she respected him. As Matthew worked, one of the machines above exploded. A piece of metal flew toward Vera. She jumped aside, but her arm was cut. Blood ran down her sleeve. Her team rushed to help, but Vera told them to keep working. She wrapped her arm and kept giving orders. Matthew heard the noise and asked if she was hurt. She said, "I'm fine. Keep going." Matthew's voice was soft. "Don't risk your life, Vera. The city needs you." She realized he cared more about her than about the job. The repairs took hours. The whole city waited in darkness, hoping for light. At last, Matthew reached the power core. It was old and broken, but he found a way to restart it. With Vera's help, he guided her team to flip the right switches at the right time. The power core hummed to life, and slowly, lights came back across Drello's. People cheered in the streets. When Matthew climbed out of the power plant, he was covered in dirt and sweat. Vera met him outside. Her arm was still bleeding, but she barely noticed. She looked at Matthew and said, "You did it." Matthew shook his head. "We did it together." For a moment they stood there, just looking at each other. Neither of them spoke. News of the rescue spread quickly. The council called Vera and Matthew to speak. The council members were surprised by the story. They had thought only Drello's warriors could save the city, but it was a human who led the way. Talira asked Matthew how he knew what to do. Matthew answered simply, "I listened to my team. Everyone has something to teach." The council thanked Matthew, but some members still looked uneasy. They whispered to each other, worried that humans were becoming too important. Vera saw the doubt in their eyes, but for the first time, she did not care what they thought. For the next few days, Vera and Matthew were forced to work even closer. Many machines were damaged by the blackout, and the city was still not safe. They checked every system together, sometimes working all night. When they argued, it was about solutions, not pride. Their team watched and learned, following both their orders. One day, as they worked alone in a small room, Vera tried to beat Matthew in a puzzle. She set up a problem, sure he would fail. But Matthew laughed, turned the problem upside down, and found a new answer. Vera was shocked, but then she started to laugh too. For the first time, she saw him not just as a rival, but as someone who made her stronger. Vir remembered her old lessons, that to be strong, she had to never bend or trust others. But now, working with Matthew, she saw a new kind of strength. He was not afraid to ask questions, to admit mistakes, or to share ideas. She found herself wanting to be more like that. One evening, Matthew invited Vera to sit with him on the power center roof. The sky was full of stars. He handed her a cup of warm drink and asked her what she dreamed of when she was young. Vera was quiet for a long time, then told him she dreamed of flying between worlds, seeing new places, and being more than just a warrior. Matthew listened, then said, "It's not too late, Vera. You're already changing the world here." Vera felt her heart soften. She wondered if maybe, for the first time, she had found a friend. The next day, a group of city elders came to watch Vera and Matthew work. They were surprised at how well the team worked together. An old woman said, "I never thought I would see the day when a human led our best." Matthew just smiled and said, "I am not leading, we are working together." As they finished repairs, Vera's team celebrated with a small meal. Someone toasted Matthew, saying he was now one of them. Vera watched Matthew laugh and share stories with her team. She realized she no longer wanted to test him or make him fail. She wanted to learn from him. That night, as Vera walked home, she thought about all that had changed. She had tried to break Matthew, but instead he had become her equal. For the first time in her life, Vera wondered what might happen if she let herself trust someone completely, deep inside. Vera knew a storm was coming. The council was still watching. Old fears and jealousies were rising again, but for now, she was not afraid. She had found something stronger than pride, true respect for someone who had earned it, not by force, but by kindness, wisdom, and never giving up. Vera and Matthew's partnership changed day by day. After the blackout, the two worked closely, and people in the city noticed. They were always seen together, checking broken machines, giving orders, and teaching the team new skills. Some of the team even started copying Matthew's quiet ways and Vera's habit of asking hard questions. The city was still not safe. The blackout had damaged many systems. Machines that ran water, food, and lights broke down one after another. Every day brought new problems, and every day, Vera and Matthew tried to solve them together. Vi, or kept challenging Matthew, even now. She liked to test herself as much as him. One day, she set up a test in the main generator hall. She made a puzzle with broken wires, missing parts, and only half the needed tools. She called Matthew over, pretending it was just another repair. As he looked at the mess, Vera watched carefully. Matthew thought for a long time, then asked Vera and the team to help him look for spare parts. He took ideas from everyone, even the youngest workers. Slowly, they found pieces to fix the puzzle. Instead of getting angry or giving up, Matthew turned the test into a lesson for the whole team. When the generator started working again, the group cheered. Vera smiled to herself, but she told Matthew, "You cheated." "You used help?" Matthew just grinned and said, "Good work never comes from one person alone." The more time they spent together, the more Vera started to see Matthew as her equal. Sometimes she tried to beat him in games, memory games, strength tests, and even races across the city. Sometimes she won, sometimes Matthew did, but most of the time the contests ended in a draw. They teased each other and laughed. Other times they argued about the best way to fix something. Once they argued for a whole hour about a broken water pump, but in the end, they found a new solution that worked better than either plan. One evening, after a long day, Vera and Matthew sat in the empty power center. The team had gone home, and the city was quiet for once. Vera asked Matthew why he never got angry when things went wrong. He thought for a moment and said, "I learned that anger makes my mind cloudy. When I was a boy, I would break things when I got mad. Then I realized if I stopped, listened, and thought, I could always find a way." Vera nodded. She said she used to think strength was about fighting, but now she was starting to see it was about staying calm and working together. Some nights, the team would share food in the power center after finishing their work. Matthew would tell stories about Earth. He told them about blue skies, green forests, and animals that ran wild and free. Vera listened with interest, imagining a world very different from Drello's. She told stories of her own childhood, climbing stone cliffs and learning to fight with a staff. The team loved these stories. Sometimes people who did not work at the power center came just to listen. Even the oldest workers started to look at Matthew in a new way. Vera's feelings changed, but she did not want to admit it. She noticed she cared what Matthew thought of her. If he smiled at her, she felt proud. If he was tired, she worried. At times, she caught herself watching him as he worked, feeling a warmth in her chest. She did not understand this feeling, and it made her nervous. Then one day, a stranger came to the city. He was a human, a visitor from Earth, and he brought news. He said Earth had heard about the blackout and was worried. He asked to see Matthew and speak with Vera. They met in the council hall. The visitor warned that Earth might pull their engineers from Drello's if things did not get better. The council listened, and so did Vera. After the meeting, the visitor pulled Matthew aside and asked, "Do you really trust these people? You could come home." Matthew looked at Vera and said, "I trust her. I want to stay." The visitor left, looking unsure. Later that night, Matthew found Vera sitting alone on a rooftop, looking at the stars. He sat beside her. She asked, "Why did you say you trust me?" Matthew answered, "Because you never give up. Because you're honest even when it hurts." Vera said nothing for a long time. Then she quietly admitted, "I don't want you to leave." Matthew smiled. Over the next few days, the city faced another crisis. A water pump that fed half the city broke down. Lines of people waited for hours with empty buckets. The team was tired and worried. Matthew and Vera worked through the night, taking turns sleeping on the hard floor. Finally, after hours of work, Matthew found the problem. Tiny crack in a pipe hidden from view. He fixed it, and water flowed again. People cheered in the streets. Vera hugged Matthew, forgetting herself for a moment. The city began to talk about Vera and Matthew. Some said the two were just friends. Others whispered there was something more. A few people were jealous. They said Vera was losing her pride and letting a human lead. The council called her in and asked if she was letting her feelings cloud her judgment. Vera answered honestly, "I respect Matthew. He has saved this city more than once. Without him, we would have lost everything." The council was not pleased, but they could not argue with the results. Days later, Vera's mother, a famous warrior, came to visit. She wanted to see the human who had changed her daughter. She watched Matthew work, listened to him speak, and then challenged him to a test of skill. She set up a game of balance and speed, a test no outsider had ever won. Matthew tried, fell twice, but then found a new way to finish the game. Vera's mother smiled and said, "He is clever, this one. You have chosen well, daughter." Vera blushed and changed the subject. One night a fire broke out in the city market. The flames spread fast and people panicked. Vera and Matthew rushed to help, leading teams to control the fire. They worked side by side, risking their lives to save others. In the smoke, Matthew grabbed Vera's hand and pulled her from a falling wall. They escaped just in time. When the fire was out, the city thanked them both. For the first time, Vera realized how much she trusted Matthew, not just with machines, but with her life. The next morning, Matthew was called to the council hall. The council told him they were thankful, but some still wanted him gone. They said his presence was making some people uneasy. Matthew listened quietly, then said, "I will go if Vera asks me to." The council turned to Vera. She stood up straight and said, "I want him to stay. He is needed here." Her voice was strong and clear. The council could not argue. After that day, things changed between Vera and Matthew. They stopped trying to beat each other and started working as true partners. Their friendship grew into something deeper, something neither of them spoke about, but both felt. Vera's team grew closer. They learned to trust each other and share ideas. When problems came, they solved them together. People across the city started to believe that maybe humans and Drellos could really work as one. Still, not everyone was happy. Some on the council watched Vera and Matthew, looking for a chance to break their partnership. Rumors grew, and old fears returned, but for now, Vera did not care. She was proud of her team, her city, and her new friend. One night, as the city lights glowed soft in the darkness, Matthew asked Vera, "What do you want for the future?" She thought for a long time, then said, "I want a city where everyone can help, no matter who they are." Matthew smiled and said, "I want that too." They sat together on the rooftop, looking out over the city they had both saved again. And for the first time, both felt hope for what might come next. Vera awoke to a message from the council. They wanted her at once. The city's main control center was failing again. This time the problem was deeper. Power surges threatened to destroy entire districts. The council ordered Vera to lead the repair and to break Matthew's spirit if needed. Vera felt trapped. She cared for Matthew, but her duty was to her people. She rushed to the control center with Matthew by her side. The room was chaotic. Sparks flew from broken conduits and sirens wailed. Workers scrambled to shut down machines before they exploded. Vera told Matthew to stand back. She would handle this alone. Matthew nodded but stayed close. Vera began issuing orders. She pointed to damaged panels and told workers to secure them. She shouted at a technician who hesitated, demanding faster action. Her voice was sharp and people moved quickly. She tested Matthew by giving him a faulty tool and telling him to repair a critical conduit. The tool would not fit. She watched him struggle, expecting him to fail. Matthew did not complain. He stayed calm, set the faulty tool aside, and asked for another. He found a simple wrench from a nearby shelf and used it carefully. Within minutes he fixed the conduit. Sparks stopped and machines stabilized. Vera felt a mix of pride and frustration. He had succeeded again. The council watched through a glass window. They saw Matthew's calm skill and Vera's firm leadership. They whispered among themselves, noting the human strength. Vera realized the council expected her to show Matthew was weak or unworthy. She would not. Instead, she stood with him and spoke to the council. "I have tested him," Vera said. "He has not failed. He has saved this city." Her voice was steady. Matthew glanced at her, grateful. The council frowned but said nothing. Suddenly, alarms sounded. A critical safety valve in the cooling system had broken. If it did not close, the reactor would overheat and cause a disaster. All eyes turned to Vera. She felt the weight of their expectations. She turned to Matthew and said, "You handle this." Matthew did not hesitate. He ran to the cooling system, tools in hand. Vera followed, opening the maintenance hatch. Inside, pipes hissed and steam poured out. Matthew crouched beside the valve, his hands steady as he worked. Vera watched, ready. To help, a burst of steam knocked her back, burning her arm. She cried out, but forced herself to move closer. Matthew saw the damage and called for a spare gasket. Vera handed him the part. He secured it quickly, tightened bolts, and shut the valve. Steam stopped, and the cooling system hummed normally. The danger passed. Vera felt relief flood her. She rushed to Matthew's side, checking his face for any injuries. The council entered the control room. They bowed to Matthew, thanking him for saving the city again. Vera spoke up. "Without him, our people would suffer. He is not just an ally, he is our friend." The council leader, Talira, approached. She placed a hand on Vera's shoulder. "You have shown courage and wisdom, Vera. You have proven that strength lies not in pride but in unity." Talira then turned to Matthew. "You have earned our deepest respect, Matthew. By ancient law, when a guest saves our world, we owe a bond. We ask you to accept this gift." She motioned to Vir. A single quote's heart pounded. She stepped forward and took Matthew's hand before the council. She knelt slightly. Her voice was soft but clear. "Matthew, with this bond, I ask for your mercy. Please stay by my side and guide our people to a brighter future." Tears welled in her eyes. Matthew's face showed surprise. He knelt beside Vera and said, "I am honored. I pledge my loyalty to you and to all of Drelos." The council chanted, words of the ancient bond. Light filled the room as symbols glowed on the walls. Vera and Matthew stood together, hand in hand, their bond sealed. The council declared a celebration that night in the city square. That evening, the city gathered to honor Vera and Matthew. Lanterns lit the streets, music played, people danced and cheered. Vera watched Matthew laugh with her team, sharing food and stories. She felt joy like never before. As the celebration continued, Vera and Matthew slipped away to a quiet balcony. The night sky stretched above, filled with stars. Vera turned to him and spoke softly. "I begged you for mercy today. It was not just for my people. I begged for my own heart." "You showed me what true courage is," Matthew smiled, taking her hand. "And you showed me what true honor is. Together we are stronger." They stood in silence, looking out over the city they had saved together. Vera knew her life had changed forever. She had learned that mercy, friendship, and respect were the greatest strengths of all. Far below, the people of Drelos celebrated a new age, one where pride gave way to unity, and where an alien woman and a human engineer stood side by side, ready to face any challenge in the galaxy. Vera stood at the edge of the council hall, looking out at the city she loved. The sky was pale blue, and the air smelled of exhaust and new metal. Matthew was beside her, adjusting a small device on his belt. They both felt the weight of what was to come. Today they would face the council again, but this time not as challenger and challenger, but as partners who had saved their world. The council hall was quiet when they entered. The elders sat in high seats carved from stone, their faces stern. Vera and Matthew moved to the center, hands still brushing each other's. Talira rose and spoke in a soft voice. She praised them for their success in saving the city. She said the people had seen true courage and true mercy. She told Vera and Matthew that their bond had changed Drellos forever. Vera felt her heart beat fast. She wore a simple robe, but she stood proud. She looked at the council and then at Matthew. She spoke clearly, her voice steady. We faced darkness together. We learned from each other. I was wrong to test you so harshly. You have shown me that strength and mercy belong together. Matthew nodded and added, I was honored to stand with you. Your people taught me more than I could imagine. The council members whispered among themselves. One elder leaned forward. He asked if their bond was only a symbol or if they would truly work as one. Vera answered, I pledge my heart and mind to the bond. We will lead together, learn together, and serve our people together. Matthew echoed her words. The council fell silent. Then Talira stood, raising her hands. She declared that the bond was real and that Drellos would follow their example of unity. After the ceremony, Vera and Matthew walked through the city square. People cheered and gift sellers offered them foods and trinkets. Children waved ribbons and musicians played gentle songs. Vera smiled at a small girl and took her hand. She laughed when the girl spun in circles. Matthew watched, his eyes soft. He told Vera, You have given them hope. She answered, We have given them hope. They reached the power center, their second home. Inside, the machines hummed. Quietly, the repairs from the blackout and the cooling failure had held strong. Vera ran her hand along a control panel, remembering their fights and victories. Matthew stood beside her, studying the readings. Together, they organized the team meeting. Matthew spoke first, explaining new improvements to the grid. Vera then spoke about training the workers to handle emergencies with the same calm and teamwork. They had shown. The team listened in awe, taking notes on simple tablets. They asked questions, and Vera and Matthew answered together. When a worker named Lara asked how to stay calm under pressure, Matthew smiled and said, Remember, we face problems, not enemies? Vera added, and trust your team. You are stronger together. Lara nodded, inspired. Later, Vera and Matthew left the power center and walked to the market street. Stalls filled with fruits, fabrics, and tools lined the road. They'd bought fresh bread and sweet fruits, sharing bites. Matthew pointed to a bright blue fabric and asked what it was. Vera told him it was cloth made from local plants, soft and strong. She bought a small piece to remember this day. They sat by a fountain, eating quietly. Vera looked at Matthew and saw relief in his eyes. She felt warmth in her chest. She wanted to say something important but hesitated. Matthew reached out, took her hand, and said, We have done so much. What will we do next? Vera thought for a moment, then said, We will teach our people to see beyond pride. We will show them that no one is weak when we help each other. Matthew nodded and squeezed her hand. The next morning, they returned to the council hall to discuss new plans. They proposed building a training center where humans and Drellos could learn together. The council approved, excited by their vision. Vera and Matthew oversaw the plans, drawing simple maps. They decided to start with classes in basic engineering and leadership, mixing Drellos traditions and human innovation. Years passed as the training center grew. Children and adults from both worlds studied side by side. They fixed machines, learned new ideas, and shared stories. Vera and Matthew visited often, teaching lessons and listening to students. Vera's old pride was gone. She now felt pride in her people's openness and in Matthew's courage to stay when he could have left. One day, as they walked through the halls of the center, Vera heard a voice behind her. A young student named Janice asked, How did you both become friends? Vera smiled and told the story of their first meeting. She spoke of tests and challenges and of the moment she begged for mercy. Matthew added how he learned strength and honor from her. The students listened with wide eyes. After class, Vera and Matthew sat on a bench in the garden. Flowers bloomed, and the sun was warm. Vera leaned her head on Matthew's shoulder. She whispered, "Thank you for teaching me mercy." Matthew kissed her forehead and said, "Thank you for teaching me honor." They sat quietly enjoying the simple peace. As evening came, the city of Drelos glowed with light and laughter. Ships flew in the sky, bringing new visitors. Humans and Drelos walked side by side in the streets. The old walls of mistrust were gone, replaced by bridges of friendship. Vera and Matthew stood on a hill overlooking the city. Vera rested her hand on his chest. She felt his steady heartbeat. She said, "We have done well." Matthew wrapped his arm around her. He looked at the horizon and said, "The galaxy is wide. There is more to learn, more to share. Together we will face it." They stood in silence, ready for the future. The alien woman who had once refused to bow and the human who had taught her mercy now led their world into a new age. Their story would be told for generations, a tale of pride turned to unity, of strength born from kindness, and of two hearts that found each other across the stars.